and I added, just for reference, the building mortgage value. I'll try to keep it updated on this sheet going forward also. City of Boniana went ahead and paid in full for their year, so they are paid and that'll be a zero on the months going forward. Hayden paid. But I've got a breakdown of that we can look at. I know the for Rachel, where it was in that annual maintenance.
Okay. Staff reports.
We are finally getting to play catch up on certifications and education needed. So this past week we had 3 that went to CTO, Communications Training Officer class. So we've got 3 certified training officers that we did not previously have as of this week. We also had 2 of our new ones that went to St. Clair County and took emergency medical dispatch. So we're getting everybody's certifications and training caught back up. The thing that I keep mentioning with our expenses side is overtime. So just to give you a breakdown from the first payroll in September to the last payroll in November, we paid out 937 hours in overtime. So as we go forward and try to figure out where to find employees and how to defer things, that's where a lot of our funds are going into overtime to keep seats covered. The smallest of those pay periods was the last one in November at 101 hours. So the trend is going a little bit better, but it's still way more than what I would want to be paying out in overtime. We are 4 for the last 11 hires, making it past 6 months for various reasons. So,
is there any way, I know it's different, I'm just asking, I know, I'm probably already know the answer. But, when we send somebody to the academy, they sign a 2-year contract. Just asking, if there's any way we can commit people to, I knew that was gonna be the answer, I was just, spitballing.
not at this point, I don't
We send them to
think so.
schools, we send them to get training on NCIC and different things that they.
Yeah, but it's a total of a cumulative 3 weeks worth.
The academy is legislated by the state law.
To get our part-time pool built back is the answer. Because if we've got 8 solid work, 20-hour-a-week part-time folks, that reduces its overtime number and there's no benefits involved. And we've always had a good part-time pool until this last 18, 24 months, that the part-time pool just kind of dried up.
What are you paying for it now?
I guess what concerns me
Starts at
though,
12.
I'm tracking with you, but what concerns me though, from a management standpoint, is all this overtime at some point is gonna come to a head, and now we've burned out our good employees on overtime.
I agree.
Yeah, that's what worries me.
I'm not pro con, I'm just trying to
Yeah.
get dollar for,
Yeah, I mean,
agree.
I'm,
We ran into the same thing at Amiana, and that's why we raised the pay for part-time people. Are you hiring them under the same guidelines?
Yes.
So they have to fit the same criteria when you hire them part-time? Do you have to rehire them as full-time?
It's just
Do you do any additional testing?
progression.
So, I mean, my point is, if you're gonna hire somebody to do the job, if you're gonna hire somebody to do a police officer's job, and you train them, and you send them to training, or they have the training, why would you pay somebody who works 20 hours less than somebody that works 40 hours for doing the same job?
Well, it's the same pay, it's just a progression of the pay. Because you hire in as the current, and I don't have any opposition to changing this at some point, but currently what we're doing is new hires start at $12.50 as a call taker / trainee.
Okay?
After 12-ish weeks of call taker training, if they elect to move up and do radio, once they complete radio training, it bumps to $13.52.
Is that for part-time and full-time?
Yes.
Okay, so you are paying them the same thing?
Yes, same hourly, but once they go full-time, they get benefits deducted off of that.
Right.
So it is the same hourly, sorry, I misunderstood.
That's what I wanted to know, because you're not paying benefits to them, and it's beneficial to have part-time, paying them a good salary, but not benefits, and not burning out your full-time people.
And at the point, now 5-ish years ago, that we kind of laid out our plan with what we were gonna do with leads and everything else, getting our pay rate into the 13-ish looked really good compared to everybody else around us. And then the last 2 years, inflation and starting pay has gone crazy and left us in the dust. So that's another agenda item on down here in just a minute that I'm about to get back to. So we'll get to that when we get down to new business stuff.
All right. So you're through there?
That's
Okay.
okay.
All right,
I'll get off that rabbit trail for right now, for time's sake.
that brings us down to old business, the P25 radio project.
Still moving at a turtle pace, but we do have physical signs of progress. Over in the corner is one of the new radio consoles. That is the one that we're working on as our kind of our guinea pig, getting our layouts, audio levels, everything kind of measured and correct before we actually take anything operational out of service. So the goal is to try to get all of that completed this week, get it integrated in the supervisor's office, my old office, next week, so that we've actually got one integrated with the telephone system, so we can play back and forth with audio levels between telephones and radios, because that's one of the major issues with the current system. And then once we've got a good configuration laid out, there with your package, you've got a timeline of Motorola's goals. It took some pitching of fits and gnashing of teeth to get them to give me a timeline, but that's kind of, at least we now know that there is a plan. So hopefully we can move forward with staying on that plan, and within 2.5, 3 weeks, have all of the radio consoles swapped out, all of the old Zetron stuff gone, and be on the new equipment here while we're getting the grounding and electrical work done at the other sites. As you leave, you're probably gonna see a crew out back. They're working on starting the regrounding and stuff on our tower here. They started yesterday, so.
Who's doing that?
MCA. Yeah, it's a Pearson screw. So, it is a very slow and tedious process, but there is now visible stuff going on, so that makes me feel pretty good about it.
All right. Pine Mountain Tower site?
We approved up to, I think we approved up to 1,500. We had a credit with our tower climber, so we were able to get that Rimlap Pine Mountain repeater back online for a total of, I think it was like $380. Met with Auxiliary Power, our vendor that does our generator maintenance, week before last. Found a throttle linkage on that generator that was broken. He was gonna go back and look in their boneyard and try to find a similar linkage, otherwise he was gonna have to order one. Told me it might be a week or two before he got back out there, but it appears that we'll be able to get that generator back online for $350, $400, when originally we thought that generator might be dead. So, all in all, the tower itself is a little haphazardly put back up, but it's functional and
It's safe now.
it's
I'll
it's-
pass the safety. I didn't
yeah,
before.
it's much better than it was. The grounding up there needs some work, but it's some stuff that Chris and I are gonna tinker with when we have a pretty day and get caught up on some other things. It's a really good piece of property for some potential future use down the road. So I think as we get it cleaned up and done a little bit with, it's gonna be good. We rearranged some equipment in there, and
Did we get the deed and everything straightened out on that now?
so it is all free and clear and ours, and other than topping off the LP tank and from the radio station that's leasing there is running, so.
Yeah.
What house did we put the antenna at?
It's right below, so it's 160-ish.
All right.
Seems to be working pretty well made our firefighters happy for just a little bit of money and bridge the gap until we get the rest of this done.
That brings us down to the smoking policy.
All right, you've got in your packet a draft. This is probably the third or fourth version that Alex and I have passed back and forth. Bob had one request for an addition, so under, let's see here, get my document to run right. On the second page, number 2, I added, shoot, I clicked off of it, now I've lost it. Second page, number 2, in front of the last sentence, I added, also prohibits spitting in cups, trash cans, or sinks. So, I'll let Bob tell you his horror story of a spilled spit cup some other time. So, I thought that was a valid point, so I added that in. Any other edits or additions that y'all would like on that? And then we would need an approval. And just for backstory, there was some allegation that there was some vaping going on, and there was nothing in the current policy. If I caught somebody vaping, there was nothing in the current policy that said that was not okay. So, this adds vape to tobacco use and smoking.
Entertain a motion to adopt. Have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? All those in favor? Any opposed? All right, brings us down to the,
They don't know if that's stealing.
Unless y'all tell me otherwise. It'll be posted by lunch today.
Update on the tower lease.
So, let's see, I guess it was the October meeting, we discussed adding a cost to the forestry and National Weather Service that are occupying Palisades. National Weather Service has communicated back and forth with me, and they are willing, we just gotta jump through a couple of hoops with getting their federal government paying stuff done. So I had to get them some information as far as our tax ID, our SAM's number, things like that, and Alice has got a draft of that lease that we just gotta go through and make sure there's no mousetraps of any kind in it yet. But I think the National Weather Service has got no issue with paying us something. Just don't think we had ever asked.
They done a survey, I give them quotes. And I
Okay.
guess when they saw mine was standard quotes. Yours look good,
Gotcha.
but I really didn't want them on my tower.
I don't particularly want it either, but it does provide a public
Yeah.
safety purpose, so if they'll give us a little bit back for it, I guess we'll let them stay. Forestry, on the other hand,
Hadn't heard from them.
I have sent them a draft. They replied back to me that it didn't need to go to me, it needed to go to this other person, so I sent it with a carbon copy to the original person and at least 2 follow-up attempts of, hey, making sure you got this, and nothing. So, we'll have to chase the forestry rabbit a little bit more after the holiday.
But maybe if you got the politicians coming to town, they would put a bug there, and maybe they could.
Thing in government.
For that reason, they're doing the same job. I think they should be making the same money. That's just what I think.
Financially, though, you're talking, this last proposal versus a percentage rate, you're talking 10,000 foot view less money than if you did it percentage wise, correct? From an overall standpoint. Because if you have employees making, I mean, I'm looking at it from,
I'm looking at it as an incentive for longevity. I mean,
Would you
you know,
not?
that was the whole reason that when you have grades and steps set up in a plan.
that's your
That's your
reimbursement for longevity.
That's your reason for staying longer is because I'm gonna get
Yeah.
a percentage increase, and my percentage is gonna be more than the person who's only been working here a year. If I stay for 10 years, I should be making more money.
Exactly.
I mean,
Because
for that reason, I like a percentage.
if not, you're penalizing them for being here for,
That's right. I
Right.
mean, you know, I've never liked across the board raises. I understand cost of living is different, but on pay increases, I think percentages is the proper way to go because it rewards people for
You're trying to
longevity
get people
who
to
have
stay.
stayed and been dedicated.
you're trying to get people to stay here and not
That's right.
drive them off.
So, I mean, that's what I think.
I understand what you're saying, but I'm also looking at the ability for us to be able to afford this raise this year, or this COLA this year. You know, can we do a percentage comfortably or across the board that would benefit everybody? I guess that's my question.
The difference in the 5% as I calculated it and, $8.99 for the dollar flat or $8.96 for the 5%.
So roughly $3,000.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now, that's all done on base hours and not factoring overtime and just general law of averages.
How much was the increase in insurance across the board
5.9.
total? In money?
Oh, and
In money.
In
How
actual
much money-
dollars?
In actual dollars, how much was the increase?
About $10,100.
yep,
Is that?
23,400 to, or
You got
223.
the change there, 10,122.
Yep, there it is.
48, it's on there.
Yep.
Have y'all absorbed that?
For the last 3 years at least, we have absorbed what we've passed on to the employees.
So you've not passed it on to the employees
Correct.
though?
Correct. The employee contribution for the last 3 years in insurance has not changed. So in a sense, they have been getting more of a raise than what they've actually seen.
Right, right.
But insurance has gone up,
Mhm.
you know. And now we're only talking about going up 1%.
Correct.
Has anybody ever talked about doing a grade and step plan here?
Not that I recall.
Is it time?
I like the performance-based approach myself because that gives us the ability to incentivize good performance. Previous to mine and Caleb's coming in, it was 25 cents a year, no matter what. So the best employee and the worst employee both got 25 cents a year
Yeah,
just for being here.
Yeah, I don't like that.
And that was, we did have that situation a couple of years ago where that,
So I guess
That
it was
came into play.
2015 or so
Yeah.
when we went to the performance-based
Performance has
scale.
worked good
Yeah.
for them. Sure.
for this job,
Yeah,
for this job.
I think due to actually just the plain out money cost, like you're talking about, because we've got so much facing us this next year. So I don't know how we're gonna make a lot of it, but, and I'd personally go with the $1.75 deal, although I understand what the chief's saying. It's just, I think that's the way to go at least this year.
This
I mean, I'm only talking this year.
Yeah,
This is
Until-
not a
until we
this is one
have
year.
But then when you hire a part-time employee, they're gonna get another increase automatically because you've created a difference between a full-time and a part-time. So a part-time employee, if you hire somebody part-time and you're paying them based on your numbers, then you're gonna have to increase theirs when you hire them full-time. But if you were paying them the same money across the board, it doesn't work that way. You just add benefits. You see what I'm saying?
Which is what we're currently doing.
I know.
but also isn't a part-time, normally the part-time are for the most part, new people
Correct.
that gotta go through a lot of training, and you got the ones that's full-time that may have been here a year or two.
And
It's
if,
not right for that new one that comes on board to make the same as somebody's been here a year or two that is trained.
so, in this gray section down at the
Yeah.
bottom is the part-time pool. If you look at those salary rates, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 out of that are still at their pretty much beginning rates. So that's at least 7 that are within a year or 18 months of their hire date. There's not many in the part-time pool left that have been here more than 2 years because we keep rolling them up into full-time spots.
And then they automatically get changed.
I'm fine either way. This is just the thoughts of Neil put onto a piece of paper and they can be edited and changed. This is just a beginning point.
Well, I personally don't think they get paid enough. I know that there's not enough money in the pond right now to pay them what they're worth. I just think that if it's structured, it's easier.
I don't disagree with that at all. I just don't wanna put us in a position based on our salaries to get to the point where I think it's our job to balance that salary and those benefits and those things in order to have as many good employees as we have. And if we start getting, not necessarily, top heavy is not the word that I wanna get
No.
used, but if we start getting on the higher side, our salaries, we may not be able to afford that based on the current situation that we have, and I certainly don't wanna cut any employees or have to reduce any spots, I guess is what
So
I'm worried about.
the highest, excuse me, the highest of these totals is the $899. We budgeted for the year 910.
Okay.
Now, granted, this $899 does not factor in the overtime that we're having to shell out. I still think that we will go over some, but I don't think that that blows the budget ridiculously.
And that makes a new starting point, though the same for a part-time as a full-time, right?
Well,
If they start at, now they're
Yes.
at 12-something, and this will start them at 13.25.
correct.
So that's basically what the chief's saying, equal pay there. So they're gonna be starting at the same price a
Yes.
part-time is as a full-time. Ain't that what you're saying, chief?
That's
Yeah, I
exactly.
mean, that's what it's, make starting pay, whether they're full-time or part-time, they'll start at 13.25.
That's,
Is that what
but
I'm looking at a dollar.
the
and
new
cent-
starting point is, as a part-time trainee would be 13.25.
Okay,
And then it would bump up that other quarter once they went full-time.
right,
The-
okay,
The way this is written.
yeah. Hey,
We don't have to pass the way this is written.
Right. So I'm for,
If we just wanted to scratch that bottom and make it $1 flat, and I'm fine with that too.
Can we afford the dollar flat?
what are we talking about? 25 cents, 25 cents more.
Yeah. I mean,
And
hang on just a second, I'll be back to my spreadsheet and we can plug that in.
probably can, because it's not gonna be that much more above the $8.99. The thing that's gonna kill us is gonna be the overtime.
Which is the reason for part-time.
That's right.
We just got to get that part-time pool reestablished. Shoot. I thought that I could get back to that worksheet real quickly and edit that and play with the numbers. I can't find where I saved it.
If we did this, when would it take effect, January?
Whenever y'all say. I would say let's just do one mass edit and change Blue Cross and this at the same time, but we could do one now and one later. It's not,
And I think it-
We're increasing the employees' cost that they pay for insurance effective in January by
Correct.
1%.
correct.
I mean, I like $1 across the board.
Is that a motion?
I'm waiting on somebody to kick the table. No
Make
kicking the
make a
table.
motion, make a
Kicking,
motion.
is that a motion?
I make a motion,
Okay.
$1 an hour increase. Across the board.
Effective January. You second.
Mark second. Any other discussion?
So in theory, that would make the new starting point $13.50 instead of $13.25 that's at the bottom. Because the 13, that number at the bottom was based on 75 cents. So that would make us $13.50 instead of $12.50 as a starting point. Correct?
Mhm.
That's what you said, wasn't it?
Yep.
All right,
I thought that's what you said.
have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? All those in favor? Any opposed? All right. Now we to the second, okay.
So if you remember back the way the original contract with Motorola was written, they gave us this clause that we had to pay $200,000 this calendar year, but if we paid above $200,000, they would allow us to reamortize and refigure our financing package. With the grant that the county gave us to prepay all of these user fees, we have money in the bank. It would be my proposal that we'd take a can't make myself say it, $1.25 million payment to Motorola to reamortize that payment schedule, and that will save us about $80,000 a year going forward on our debt payment.
I'll make a motion, we do that. I'm like for knocking debt down.
That was hard for me to say, considering the headache that we've gone through to get to this
So
point, but,
1.25 payment, which will be reamortized.
and then they will recalculate that, and based on the way I figure it, I think that's gonna save us about 85-ish.
But they'll recalculate that on the same time.
Same time,
See, that ought to reduce our, personally, that makes me feel better because of the money.
correct.
See, we,
And-
to me, it gives us a little breathing room for the next 2 or 3 years.
Mhm.
All right. We have a motion.
Yeah, we're supposed to be in, supposed to be motion second in discussion.
All right. Any discussion?
What is it, very much said.
I would love for us to be able to hold that money until they produce a little bit more, but the way that contract was written is we had a year to make that payment, and that year is this week.
Are we making interest off the money
No,
right now?
Well, currently,
We are?
for the last 5 weeks.
How much are we paying on, for not having paid them the money? I mean,
It's
how
not
much are we
much.
gonna save by paying them the money
No, we're gonna save,
in interest?
a lot.
Yeah.
Their charge is what, 3%? I think I'm saying
three or 3.5.
3 or 3.5%.
We're not making 3.5.
We're
off
not
the money.
making
Oh,
point
gosh,
on
yeah.
one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so it's better off, we're gonna
If
get,
we ain't making squat.
Is
Yeah.
Is Motor,
Period.
is Motorola,
This is a one-time window, we
Mhm.
can make a bulk payment.
Yeah, They
on time to read.
gave us that option to one time, and at that point in time, we were hoping to be able to come up with 500,000 to throw at it.
Well, have they done anything to deserve $1.2 million?
That's why I said, it pains me to have to say that.
I mean, that's just,
But they
I'm just
can't,
asking the
if we
question.
ain't got the tower sites ready,
Yeah.
the only thing they can do is this right here. I don't think we can blame
I don't-
them when the tower sites aren't ready for any equipment. So why wanna
How many
penalize?
times have we had?
Not
to-
that they would have been ready.
Yeah,
How many-
that's
How
beside
many
the point.
times, how many times have we
Yeah.
had to go back in the last year and restart?
Mhm.
How many times?
5 at least.
Okay, so that's not our fault.
Yes, it was. We have not had
How
the
many-
tower sites
How many
ready.
times have they changed
But
engineers?
originally, they said the tower sites were suitable. What,
Well, yeah.
there was. some
Not
discussion.
suitable for the equipment to be installed, suitable as a site.
Yes.
To have.
We've been through 5 or 6 delays and delays and delays.
I'm just asking